Maryland with a commanding win against St. Louis in the Basketball Hall of Fame tip-off game. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Slasher U. I'm your host, Christian Rao, here with my co-host, Steve Feck. And Steve, this is one of your Feck 5 for the weekend. 95-67, Maryland getting the win here. A blowout fashion, if you will, led by Dante Scott.
Yeah, in Maryland, for me, the big key for this game against St. Louis is that Maryland dominated on the boards. They had 15 offensive rebounds in this game. And St. Louis is probably one of the better rebounding teams in the country. At the end of the year, when you're looking at what the top rebounding teams are going to be, St. Louis is right there. So while we could have looked also at their win against overrated Miami 88-70, I wanted to focus on this game here because of the fact that the Terps are doing everything you expect a Kevin Willard team would do. Now, I know that Willard was really excited about the job they did, on the boards. And any Kevin Willard team is terrific at rebounding. When a Willard team rebounds well, especially on the offensive boards, because they love to kick the ball out for an open three. I mean, that's one of the things that Willard always stresses in practices. It's something that he tried to do when he was at Seton Hall, and he did it quite successfully when he was there. So it's a good sign that a team that had been a chronic underachiever has bought into this new system, and it is bringing all the best out of this Terrapin team. It's something that, and I think this game set up Maryland to be able to beat Miami, because Miami's got Wong. Miami's got a lot of great players. They're very, they're very athletic. They like to push the pace of play. Maryland was able to contain them and shut them down in a way that Providence hadn't done, for example.
Right.
But, and here's a stat that really amazed me. Willard is the only coach in Maryland history to start 5-0. And you think about all the great Maryland teams, especially back when they were still in the ACC. Lefty Driesell didn't do that. Gary Williams didn't do that. And those guys were there for forever, for most of my lifetime. One of those two guys was coaching at Maryland, it seems. Mm-hmm. I knew that Willard was going to have Maryland clicking, let's say, in February, and that Maryland would then be kind of a pest come the Big Ten tournament. But to have this much of a positive impact this early, that if I was a Big Ten coach, I would be very, very nervous. When Maryland is on and they're rebounding, there aren't many teams in the Big Ten, maybe Illinois, that would not really be negatively impacted by the style of play that Maryland plays. I would go out on a limb, as great as Michigan State has played early on. I think Maryland right now is playing better than Michigan State is playing. And I think Maryland playing a team like Indiana, which is young and still trying to find its equilibrium, if you will, and have the younger players assume roles. If they were to play Indiana tomorrow, I think that they would blow Indiana out of the building. So this is a great sign for Maryland basketball fans. I know they've been really frustrated over the last couple of years. They've had the talent there. It just didn't come together. It looks like Willard's got it all figured out, and maybe we're going to be talking about Maryland come February and March, if maybe not even as a bubble team. Maybe we're going to see what kind of seed they have. This is how impressive I think Maryland has been so early. And I picked the St. Louis game rather than the championship game because of how they dominated on the boards against a terrific defensive and rebounding team in the Billikens.
Well, they're going to have to wait till January for Indiana. They're going to have to wait till February for Michigan State. But in this tournament, they looked really good, again, with this huge win over St. Louis and then another commanding win over Miami. Dante Scott. I'm sorry, I think it's Donta Scott. Did a fantastic job in both of those games. Maryland moving to 5-0. The rest of the month of November looks completely doable for this Maryland squad. They have to take on Coppin State on Friday. Coppin State's 3-3, and then they finish the month off against Louisville, who has been. I mean, they're searching for their first win. They're 0-3 still. So Louisville squad has been rough ever since. I mean, they're losing that exposition game. So yeah, a lot of worries for the Louisville squad. I can see Maryland finishing the month of November at 7-0, and I think we'll have a lot more to talk about if that's the case, Steve.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought up Scott. He's done a great job. He really has done a great job. He had 25 in the game against St. Louis. I didn't see the final box score against Miami, but I believe that he was in double figures again.
He was, yep.
Yeah, and I think Maryland is going to really go through him. I think he is going to be the guy that's going to look. He's got great court vision. He's going to kick that ball out. If he gets an offensive rebound, doesn't have a clear shot at the basket. He seems relatively unflappable. He seems to know what he needs to change without even being told by his coach. He seems to know, look, I've made this mistake. I wasn't really boxing out well, in this particular possession. So I think he's going to be the guy that Willard is going to depend on to make sure that what he's preaching at practice gets done, in games. But I'm really excited about Maryland. I even wore my 1914 Baltimore Terrapin hat in honor of the Maryland basketball team because I didn't have any Maryland gear to put on. But I mean, that's how excited I am about them. And for them to be going even into Christmas at 7-0, 8-1, I think that would be huge leading into the Big Ten play.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt about that. Maryland remains undefeated in the Kevin Willard era. We haven't seen a loss yet. We might not see one maybe until deep December. If that's the case, maybe when they play Illinois in their first Big Ten matchup, that's actually at the beginning of December. We'll see that on December 2nd. Big Ten starting their conference play a little earlier than some of the others. We'll see how that happens. What are your thoughts on this Maryland team if you've seen them play so far this season, sitting at already a astounding 5-0? Let us know in the comment section below. While you're there, hit like and subscribe. And thank you, as always, for watching SlasherU.